Today's episode is brought to you by Forvis Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. While change is a constant, for some it can be unnerving at best. And by taking a head-in-the-sand approach or ignoring warning signs, the delay in action could mean it's all too late. The reality is that businesses can't afford to turn a blind eye. Leaders must recognise the change needed and help steer the team towards a new way of doing things. But how? Well, Leah Mether has written a book titled Steer Through the Storm: How to Communicate and Lead Courageously Through Change. Leah is a communication and soft skills specialist. She helps leaders make the people part easier. Chris Ashmore begins by asking Leah, what makes a good leader?
A good leader is focused on people. It's as simple as that. Leadership's about people. So a good leader is someone that people want to follow, not because they have to, but because they want to. And their influence is based on trust and respect. So if I had to nail it, that's what it would be.
Well, your book aims to help leaders guide their teams through change. What kind of change do business owners face?
There's a whole gamut at the moment. I think we're in a time of really relentless change and uncertainty, from the big changes affecting businesses like industry transitions in power or timber, to the impact post-pandemic, to technology advances, and at a small business level, things like skills shortages, particularly in our regions, impact of cost of living pressures. There's really so much going on at a whole raft of levels for business. The change is relentless.
Well, in your book, you write about the 5 C's of communicating and leading through change. Can you walk me through those?
Yeah, I can. I've really tried to break it down so that it is a framework that's practical, that any leader at any level can follow. And that's key here. You don't have to have created the change. You don't need to like the change to lead people through it. So leaders at any level can follow this model. The first step is create clarity. Now, if you do know what the change is, if you are a business owner who's instigating it, it's making sure you get your messaging right, that it's plain speak, you're speaking the why, you're talking to the motivations and drivers of your staff, not just what you want to say. But let's face it, sometimes it's uncertain and you don't have all the information you need about the change. You can still provide clarity. The clarity you can create for your team there is talking to them about, how do we want to navigate this uncertain period and change? What do we want to be known for? How do we want to show up and stay true to us through that? So that's the first one, create clarity. After you've done that, connect with curiosity. We've got to ask questions and take interest in our people and get an understanding of how they feel about the change. Are they resistant? Are they on board? What's going on for them? Now, the reason this is so important is, 1, it allows you to empathise, but 2, it allows you to get that understanding of where your people are at. And the more you know and understand your people, the better you can lead them. So if your people are resistant, you want to understand why, because then you might need to adapt or adjust your messaging to be able to help get them on board. Connecting with curiosity makes people feel cared for, and that's crucial before going into the 3rd C, which is challenging with candour. Now, I know a lot of business leaders out there will be tempted to go, I'm going to create clarity, and then I'm going to just say, come on, get on with the change, let's keep going. And we jump over that connect with curiosity bit. But challenging with candour and challenging our people and holding them accountable to implement the change only works if you've done that curiosity piece to make them feel cared for first. But let's face it, we have to hold people accountable. We do still need them to get the job done. So this is where we can make sure people are keeping their focus, that their behaviour isn't getting out of hand, because poor behaviour can creep in these uncertain times. 4th one is coach with compassion. Having one-on-one conversations with your people is absolutely critical. Again, it's about ensuring that you understand where your staff are at. At the moment, one of the biggest risks to businesses is your good people leave. And that is huge cost to your business. So if you're listening to this thinking, oh, goodness, Leah, I don't have time for one-on-one conversations, my suggestion to you is you don't have time not to have them, because these are the conversations. They're not about tasks. They're not about what's on your plate this week. Coaching with compassion is about checking in with your people as humans. How are they feeling about the change? Where are they at? What does successfully navigating it look like for them? How can you support them? Where do they see themselves at the end of the change? Are they planning to stick around or not? And if you're not dealing with a change at the moment, these one-on-ones are still really important. Set up a roster with your people, check in every couple of weeks or at least every month, and have those conversations. What does success look like to you? How do you like to be communicated with? These are key questions that really can put you in a better position to lead your staff, but also ensure that they feel like this is a partnership, like, oh, you actually care about me, which builds loyalty to follow you. The last C in leading through change is committing with consistency. You can follow all of the steps I've just spoken through and do them once and see it as a tick box, and then wonder why your people don't get on board with a change. As one leader said to me a few weeks ago, but I told them about the change, Leah. I told them in an email a couple of weeks ago. And in his mind, that was so job done. I've told them. And what I spoke to him about was you need to keep banging the drum. You need to bring people along with you, and that requires more than one conversation. It means checking in again and again, continuing the change message, coming at it from different angles, telling stories, sharing wins, giving updates on timing, and continuing to deliver that change message so that people do eventually follow you. The other thing, just crucially there, as we sum up this model, is the importance of business owners making sure their behaviour and words are aligned and consistent. You got to walk the walk if you're talking the talk. You can't tell your staff that you expect them to stay calm and efficient and polite and focused as you're dealing with uncertainty and change. If you as the business owner are running around like a frazzled headless chook, yelling at them, if your words and behaviour are misaligned, they will believe your actions, not your words, every time, and then you can get yourself into trouble.
Well, hopefully it goes all smoothly, but how do you deal with those stubborn individuals that dig their heels in and just are not receptive to change?
It's interesting because as humans, it's a really natural thing to perceive change as a threat, and that sparks off that really primitive fight, flight or freeze response. So first off, just understanding that being unsure or resistant to change, it's actually a really human behaviour. What you then want to do is, rather than just go, bad luck, folks, you got to get on board, I encourage you, even if it's frustrating, try to understand why they're resistant to change. And there are a number of key reasons that often is for. There is usually a reason. They might have change fatigue. It might be the straw that breaks the camel's back rather than the change itself. It might be that change has been done poorly in the past. They feel lost. There's almost always a reason behind it. And once you understand the reason, sometimes you can address it. You can then talk to that fear and explain how you're going to help guide them through that. Sometimes the fear is real and they're resisting it for a reason. That's when you might have to empathise with warmth, but explain that even though they're resistant, this change does have to happen. And again, that's that challenging with candour and holding people accountable for their behaviour. Hopefully it doesn't come to this, but let's face it, in some situations when people are so resistant and you've tried every trick in the book, literally, to get them on board, sometimes the best thing is to let that person go, because the damage they can do if they stay and white ant the change that you're trying to implement, that can poison a whole team. So sometimes understanding early that someone's never going to get on board and, cutting them loose with love or letting them go with love is actually the best outcome for your business.
And I suppose, as you mentioned earlier, that's why the one-to-one conversations are so important.
Yeah, they really are. I've had so many examples of this over the years where leaders have been totally oblivious to how their people feel because they've never actually asked, or they haven't got a relationship where people will open up. So I suppose all of this stuff we're speaking about today is going to be so much easier if you've consciously built relationships with your team along the way. It's not about being everyone's best friend. Absolutely, you're in the role of leader or boss or whatever it might be in your business. But the more you understand and know your people, the better you can lead them. So those one-on-one conversations, finding out your people's goals. You might have someone in your team that would love the opportunity to step up into an acting role or to be the store manager while you're on leave. But you've never asked, so they've never raised it. These conversations can allow you and provide you with the information you need to keep those great people rather than go, oh my gosh, I've been blindsided by another resignation.
That was Leah Mether, Communication and Soft Skills Specialist. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Forvis Mazars. To find out more, visit forvismazars.com/au. That's FORVISMAZARS.com/au.